And away we go.
Right. So, what's in the news today?
Well, good question. There's a handful of things to get into.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I thought there was like bad news or something. In the first news. But yeah. Let's see. Let's see what else is there. Let's see. Let's see what we can get into. Let's see what's up. What's in the news today?
All right. Instagram's new friend map draws backlash over unintended location sharing.
Oh yeah. I'll be honest. I was on one of I was on one of my I was on my second account on Instagram, and I did see that that was a thing. I don't see why they did that. I feel like when it comes to like a friend map, like you should just share it with like any like people in your friend group or something. I don't know. I don't think this should be a public thing that you should know where everyone is at. 'Cause that's just a violation of
I
private.
agree.
It's just a violation. I definitely did hear. I definitely did see that friend map. I didn't hear about it, but I saw it when I was on my second account. Speaking of which, Speaking of which, I'm gonna reactivate my main account somewhere on Monday. It'll probably be off for like another couple of for another like week or two or 2 weeks. But yeah, let's hear more about the friend map.
On August 6th, 2025, Meta launched Instagram Map, a new direct messaging feature that enables users to share their current whereabouts with selected friends through an interactive map. This launch builds on Instagram's existing location sharing in Stories and Snapchat's long-standing Snap Map feature, with Meta clarifying that users must actively choose to enable live location sharing for it to be visible. Users can customize sharing settings, choosing who sees their location, opt out anytime, and parents receive notifications if their teen starts sharing location to support safe use. Meta said reposts of public reels and posts appear in followers' feeds and a Friends tab for 24-hour, while location updates occur only when users open the app, not continuously. The update may raise privacy concerns, but Meta assures users control optional sharing and parental oversight to provide a safe experience and encourage new social connections.
Well, what I have to say about that is, I don't think everyone should be able to know my location. Now, personally, me, I'm either at work or at home. But like for other people, it's definitely not good, especially like with some. I'll be honest. The only good thing that I can see from this is that like, maybe like a person can catch their spouse cheating on them, and then decide from there what they're gonna do. But even still, I mean, you know, I don't see why every one of your followers has to know what you're located. But yeah, it's just a violation of privacy. Not good. Do you have any like initial thoughts on that too?
Well, there is one thing that I will mention. If people are bringing concerns or making a fuss over friend map on Instagram, how is it people didn't make a fuss when Snapchat introduced Snap Maps? Where was that outrage?
You know what? That's a good point, actually. Why didn't people say anything about Snap Maps? Like, that's a good point, actually. What kind of hypocritical activity is that?
That's a
I
lot
mean,
of bullcrap.
yeah, exactly. Maybe Snap Map had something different that Instagram Maps or that Insta Map or whatever it's called. I'm just saying Insta Map doesn't have. I don't know. Maybe they had. Maybe you were able to control who was able to see where you're located at. But I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been on Snapchat. Yeah, yeah, I've been off there for like a couple years now, so I wouldn't really know. On top of that, I didn't even really use SnapMap. I really just had the app to kind of back then I just yeah. Now back then I pretty much just had Snapchat to talk to girls. Really, I haven't really had it. So I didn't don't really. I knew about SnapMap, but it's like I don't think. I think with SnapMap you were able to like you were able to like there was a feature where you were able to like have the option to share your location with someone. I think that's what Instagram does.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the outrage. But if that's not the, but if I'm wrong and Snapchat didn't have that, then yeah, it is a bit hypocritical because Snapchat does do the same thing, but who knows? Snapchat probably did something way different than Instagram is doing right now. So I'm just kind of surprised that Instagram didn't incorporate this idea earlier. It would have made sense too if they did. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe not. Honestly, I think 2025 is a bit late to incorporate that idea. But hey, it's better late than never. But still, it seems like I feel like Instagram would have should have definitely jumped on that idea when Snapchat did it. I don't know. These social media platforms do be copying one another, almost as if they're working together. But yeah, I would say they can keep Instamat. Just I don't know, do something to where it's like you're not sharing your location with everyone. Maybe
yeah,
specific people, sure, but like not with everyone. Just an invasion of privacy. Plus, I don't need to know if someone random follows me. If someone random who I never met before follows me, I don't need them to know where I'm at 24/7 all the time. Because like who knows? Maybe one of your followers can be like a deranged a deranged killer, or just like I don't know. Maybe if you're like famous or have some sort of fan base, your followers can easily find you in places, and just like that, yeah, you're doomed. So yeah, I don't think you should be doing that. I think you should be able to have the option to where you can share your location with specific people. Yeah, that's just me. That's just me though. No, it's not even just me. It's probably other people too. Cause yeah, just an invasion of privacy, and I feel I've said that like a thousand times during one conversation.
indeed.
Is there anything else in the news though?
Portugal's top court blocks bill restricting immigration.
They block a bill restricting immigration. Okay, let's hear more about that.
Portugal's constitutional court has blocked a bill approved by the right-wing parliamentary majority that was designed to limit the inflow of immigrants, citing obstacles it creates for family members in joining immigrants legally resident in Portugal. Immediately after late Friday's decision, President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa sent the bill back to Parliament, which is on recess until September. Last month, the President told the court to check the document for potential infringements of the principles of equality, proportionality, and legal security.
I think I'll be honest. To a degree, I think we have to gain control over this whole immigration thing. Because, like, honestly speaking, it's like you wouldn't want too many people in like a country or coming to a country. Otherwise, everything is just going to continue to go up. And even if I don't believe that things are going to go down, even if we limit immigration, like it would still definitely keep from going up in general. So it was probably not the best idea to block that bill because you at least want to get control over the situation before it gets worse, and it's going to get worse. And it's going to get far worse unless you take it by the horns right now and actually do something about the situation. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, what can you really do about that? What can you really do about that? I'll be honest. As far as Trump goes, I don't think I sometimes don't think that he can do much either. And he's the president of the United States of America. Because of certain people and certain connections, but that's another conversation. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's like you've got to take these problems by the horns now before it eventually becomes too late. Some people might add and say, yeah, it is too late. The situation is already terrible. Others might say, it's not too late yet. America is still back. America can still fight through this. America first. What some people would say.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm not gonna say we're doomed, but I'm not gonna say we're exactly good. There's still definitely huge problems that we need to resolve. Will we resolve them? like, during Trump's 4-year run? I'm not sure. And I'm really not. That's the bad part. I'm not sure. But whatever happens, happens. And, like, we just have to trust that President Trump knows what he's doing and that he will do the right thing when it counts. Not going to say I put my faith in him fully or wholeheartedly. But we just have to trust and believe that he will make the right thing, to say the least. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Just checking. US, EU, and Ukrainian officials to meet in UK on Saturday ahead of Trump-Putin meeting.
Interesting. Okay. Let's hear more about that.
US, EU, and Ukrainian officials will meet in the UK on Saturday ahead of a planned Trump-Putin meeting to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. Ukraine's President Zelensky has rejected any proposal that would compromise Ukraine's territorial integrity, warning that excluding Ukraine would lead to dead solutions. Both UK Prime Minister Lamy and President Zelensky would welcome President Trump's desire to end the barbaric war, but agreed pressure must be kept on Putin.
What does Trump have to do with any of it?
I think over the last few decades, the United States are always involved in everything.
Yes, like, bro, what does Trump have to do with this whole war ending? I mean, I want the war to end too, but it's like, bro, it's like, unless we were at war with them, there's no reason why Trump is involved in this at all. Why
He
is Trump?
wasn't even there when it started. So how
Right?
is he getting involved now?
Yeah, why? So this is between Putin and Zelensky. Like, this is between Putin and Zelensky. So it's like, bro, what does Trump have to do with this war? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What are you doing, Trump? Why are you there? You should be focusing on one country, not three countries, not America, not Russia. Or, sorry, not two other countries besides the country. Not no. You should be focusing on one country, not three. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, not two other countries outside of America. Like, yeah, you should be focusing on only America, not those two other countries. I mean, I want the war to end too, but at the same time, those are not my countries. It's like, I don't know. It's just unnecessary. Someone is probably in Trump's ear saying, "Hey, you have to attend this because it's like, we did this and did that for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." He's not going to stay out of it. That's probably why I wouldn't be president. I don't know. It's like, the title president sounds cool up until, like, you have to, like, you truly know what's going on behind you. And, it's either you comply or you die. Matter of fact, either comply or you die. That is a nice, or that has a nice
Has a
ring.
nice ring to it.
It does, right? Yeah, like, either comply or you die. Or either comply or die. No, comply or you die. Yeah, now that's it. I like that. I'm not going to say that to anyone, but, that's pretty much the whole gist of what it means to be the president of the United States of America. It's either you comply or you die. JFK, RFK. It would have been RFK Jr., but he's complying. So, yeah, I'll be honest. I'll be honest. He doesn't want to be a martyr. Speaking, my point is, yes, Trump should not be involved in any of this stuff because it's none of his business. They're not his country. They're not his people. He should care that the war. He should. I'll be honest. I think at most Trump should make a statement, but he shouldn't have to go anywhere just to try to end a war. Maybe Trump should, like, go on television and make a from the White House and make a statement and saying, "I hope and pray that they do end this war." Give his condolences to them. But then after that, you got to focus on your own country, man. That's it. That's what I would do. I don't think I'd travel all the way somewhere just to kind of, and if we were to have a meeting, we can do it via satellite. Sure. We can do it via satellite. But that's it. But, Trump's not going to do that. But hey, what else in the news?
Police arrest 365 people at protest in support of proscribed group Palestine action.
In support of that case I'm gonna read that. Anyways, yeah, let's hear more about the news.
On August 9th, 2025, the Metropolitan Police Service began arrests after at least 150 people violated the ban on Palestine action support. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper moved to prescribe Palestine action after activists broke into a British Air Force base on June 20th and vandalized two tanker aircraft. More than 500 protests gathered Saturday afternoon outside Parliament, displaying "I oppose genocide" signs and daring police to arrest them. Facing a busy weekend, police strengthened their deployment as the Met drew officers from other forces to form a significant policing presence. Deputy Adili Khan warned of pressure. Following the mass arrests, legal proceedings are set, with individuals scheduled to appear in the court on September 16th, and the prescription facing a High Court review later this year.
Interesting. Do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, daring police to arrest them. Honestly, I'd do the same thing. Because, I mean, if police are going to arrest me for something, just let them. Surely there'll come a point. There's always going to be some way to prove, and it's not just about me, but if anyone gets arrested for any kinds of protests, surely, if they do go to court regarding the situation, surely they'll know what they stand for and what reason they'll have for being there in the first place. So now, even though the government has advised against protests that enact violence, which I'll agree that no one should ever be violent regarding what the protest is. However, if there is a cause and there is a reason for speaking out on something, let them. And if police gets involved and they arrest someone for being at a protest, let the police arrest them. And once they go to court, those protesters will they'll know exactly what they stand for, and they will back up what they stand for. And if they go to jail for those beliefs, a few years down the line, not decades, hopefully, but in a few years down the line, once they realize, how do I put this? There will come a point where the execution of police arresting such protesters was not lawful, so the people involved in having those protests go to court and put them in jail, they'll have to do something and actually release them early, having those protesters spending at least a fraction of whatever the sentence was, because whatever the process was in getting them in jail in the first place wasn't as lawful as people responsible thought it could have been, and surely news reports about that will go out, and the departments and sectors involved will certainly learn a lesson from this. Not to say they will do it, but at least it gives people an idea of what will happen, what's the protest, what's the process, and what people involved, or in people in such occupations revolving the case in hand, what should they do to ensure that they don't end up having to release people who are being convicted and put in jail and have to release them early.
Yep, I'll be honest. There's not really much to say after that. It's like, yeah, just like fully agree. Yeah, there's not really much left to say. All I gotta say is like, it is what it is, man.
And it was what it was.
Exactly. There's not much left. Not much left to say after that. Is there anything else after? Is there anything?
Yes, there should be.
The owner of Trump Burger, Trump, a Donald Trump themed fast food joint faces deportation after being arrested by ICE. Huh. I did not. Have we ever reported on Trump Burger, like a Trump themed fast food joint? Have we ever reported on that before?
I have heard of a Trump-themed fast food restaurant somewhere in Texas. When I first heard about it, I was like, "But why? Why would you make a restaurant themed around that? I get you like the guy, but oh my gosh,
I don't know.
that's a whole nother level of obsession."
I mean, don't get it twisted. I would probably go there just to kind of see what it looks like, but it's like, But yeah, no, you're right. That is a whole new obsession. It's like you really dedicated a whole restaurant to Donald Trump. I mean, yeah, that, would you work there if you had to, of course? I don't know. I'll be honest. I probably would work there, but it's like at the same time, it's like, it's just an obsession, man. It's like I get Trump. I mean, it's one thing if you knew the guy. It would still be a stretch, but at least if you knew the guy, you'd be like, oh yeah, I want to dedicate my restaurant to you, my good friend, Donald J. Trump. And he's like, oh yeah, like I mean, but if you don't even know the guy, you just know him as the president of the United States of America. I mean, he can't be that good, man. It's like I feel like he could have probably named it after another president, Lincoln Burgers, or you know, literally any other president. I can't think of the name. I can't think of any other name. Oh wait. Obama Burger. Can't think of the name right now. But yeah, the point is, he could have named it after. Oh, Biden Burger. Biden. Actually, that has a good ring to it. I mean, I know most people don't like Biden Burger. It has a good ring.
It does, yeah.
Biden. Yeah, like Biden Burger because they both have B's in it. Biden Burger. That actually sounds
Yeah.
good. I mean,
And
I suppose.
maybe Bush Burger as well, but Bush Burger.
So, actually, no, because I feel like people would just interpret that in an awful way.
Yeah.
But it does have a good ring to it. Bush Burger, Lincoln's luscious burger. No, no. I mean, kind of, but no. Those are like the only presidents that I can count, like from the top of my head that I can think about. But yeah, it's like, yeah, no. I just wouldn't name a burger joint after Trump though. I would have. I would have called. I'll be honest. I would have named it after mine. I would have put my name in the front of it. Actually, if anything. Taylor's Tasty Burger. Actually, that's a good. If I wanted to open a burger joint, that would be a good name for a burger joint. But I'd have actually no, Taylor's Tasty Burger or Taylor's Tasty Treat, triple T. I'm sorry. Let's get right into the other names. I'm really just thinking about nothing right now. I'm just shooting ideas that are never going to be. Yeah, let's get right into the next story.
Wrexham gets a rude welcome to the championship as Southampton twice strikes late for 2-1.
Oh, wow, let's hear more.
Wrexham lost 2-1 to Southampton at St Mary's Stadium in their first championship game after a 43-year absence on August 9th, 2025. Wrexham returned to the championship after achieving 3 straight promotions since being acquired by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney in 2021, while Southampton dropped down from the Premier League at the end of last season. Josh Windass scored a 22nd minute penalty after Kiefer Moore was fouled, but late goals from Ryan Manning and Jack Stevens secured Southampton's comeback victory. Will Still, Hampton's 32-year-old manager, in his first English game, led his team to push aggressively late, with Manning's free kick and Stevens' added time goal praised as decisive moments. The result highlighted championship challenges for Wrexham as they adjust to a more competitive level despite early promise after a rapid rise through the league.
Interesting. Uh, I'll be honest. I don't really have much of an opinion on that. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good win for Southampton, but I thought Southampton could have gotten a better win than that. Like, they got relegated from the Premier League, going up against a team that has been promoted from England's third division. I think it's more of a praise on Wrexham's efforts that it is for Southampton's to win it. Because honestly, I think Southampton could have done a lot better than just a 2-1 win. I mean, a win's a win, but come on. I think if it was a draw, at least, I think that's more of a win for Wrexham than it is for Southampton to just win it outright. So then again, Wrexham has gotten back-to-back promotions, so maybe this season is anything is possible. But honestly, yeah, I think anything is possible. They may go up to the Premier League, maybe not. Only time will tell. And of course, it's the first match day, so it's early. It's really early days to say what teams will do to go throughout the entire season, and if whether or not a team gets promoted or relegated.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see your point on that. But yeah, let's just hope for the best. That's all we can. That's all we can do. But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
The annual Chinese Lanterns Festival in Philadelphia is a symbol of summer in the city.
All right, let's hear more.
Indeed, we shall. What began as a novel summer event in 2016 has blossomed into a cherished summer tradition for Philadelphia. Now in its 8th year, the Philadelphia Chinese Lantern Festival in Franklin Square has become a seasonal staple for locals and tourists. This year, the festival once again transforms the historic square into a luminous wonderland. More than 1,000 handcraft lanterns depict intricate scenes from enchanted forests to the underwater world. The centerpiece, a 200-foot long, 61 meters long, dragon, has become an iconic symbol of summer in the city. It has definitely become a Philly summer tradition. People really have grown to expect it, said Amy Needle, president and CEO of Historic Philadelphia, the event organizer. We have people that come back every year. They know that every year the lanterns are all new. The festival's appeal spans generations and cultures, drawing diverse crowds who came to immerse themselves in the breathtaking displays. Tonight, it was a beautiful night, just seeing the different people out, just different cultures out. Whether you're Asian, black, white, everybody's here to celebrate, said Tamia Butler, a visitor from Nashville, Tennessee. Some attendees, like Philadelphia resident Jamie Lenigan, dressed in traditional Chinese attire to fully embrace the event.
I would say an event that brings people together is definitely something worthwhile, and it's definitely something worth going to. And I would say if it does not divide people and it does bring people together, I say that there's nothing wrong with it as long as there's no disrespect or any form of blasphemy or anything like that. Then I say stuff like that is just needed for a society to thrive, especially when it's bringing different cultures together, and not dividing cultures as well. I think that's I think that's a good thing to have, especially when you want to do something do something year round. If it's once a year, yeah, year round. If it's year round, if it's once a year, then it's extremely special. So I'd say that's great to hear, and yeah, we definitely do need more of that in the world, instead of being angry at one another or just blaming each other for just for things that cannot be controlled. But yeah, I'm just happy to see it though, and it's definitely nice to see as well. Something something that's not necessarily often. I would say stuff like that is not often showcased in the news a lot, where people are just together and in oneness with one another. So that's definitely great to see, great to hear.
Yes.
But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Despite Western sanctions, Russian bomb factory bought Siemens Tech via middleman.
All right, let's hear more about that.
In October 2022, the Besic Oleum factory, a sanctioned Russian explosive plant in southern Siberia, signed a contract with Techpribor to acquire Siemens equipment through a Chinese middleman. This transaction arose as Russia's defense industry, constrained by sanctions and lacking domestic precision automation, sought ways to sustain and expand munitions production via indirect imports. Techpribor used New Source Automation, a Chinese company that imports Siemens products without disclosing end users, to route industrial technology to BOZ, which supplies the Russian Defense Ministry and is controlled by the sanctioned Sverdlov plant. Ryan Wu, a manager at New Source, indicated that his company can supply Siemens equipment in unlimited amounts while keeping the identity of the ultimate buyers confidential, whereas Siemens emphasized its strict compliance with sanctions and pledged to promptly investigate any suspected breaches. The supply chain enables the Russian military to maintain critical automated manufacturing processes, which experts say prolong the war by supporting Moscow's rearmament despite Western export controls.
Do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Well, honestly, no, not to say I encourage anything like this whatsoever. I will give them credit for at least thinking outside the box and finding loopholes on how they can get stuff into the country, even if they're unable to do any trade deals with countries around the world, or if businesses in Russia cannot operate both within or outside its borders. So, I mean, now the timing of this is neither early or late, but of course, given the measures that the Russian economy needs to implement, even with the sanctions in place, I understand why they would go this far. It's understandable why they would do this, because without this connection, how would the war between them and Ukraine continue?
You always need something to have something. You always need something to have something else continue. That's true. That's true. How would it continue?
But even then,
And
there will have to come a point where conflicts like this have to come to an abrupt and a timely end. So even if Russia's military is still getting the support it needs, technologically and weaponry-wise, it will come to an end eventually. But it will take a few years, maybe another year or two, before anything gets resolved and both countries stop fighting and people in those countries live their lives peacefully.
true. That is definitely true. And yeah, I 100% agree on that as well. Yeah.
Just checking. Bill Maher confronts Dr. Phil on joining Trump admin's ICE raids.
I'm sorry.
ICE raids. Joining Trump admin's ICE raids.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's hear more about that.
During Friday night's edition of Real Time with Bill Maher confronted Dr. Phil McGraw about his participation in Trump administration ICE raids in Chicago and Los Angeles. The Trump administration escalated immigration raids, committing to deport undocumented individuals with a focus on criminal illegal aliens, aiming to conduct the most expensive deportation effort in U.S. history. Dr. Phil defended his involvement by citing information justifying the raids and noted agents wore masks to protect themselves from legislatures doxing them, while Maher pressed him on the contradiction of separating families during enforcement. Dr. Phil remarked that authorities have numerous prior convictions against child predators they are removing from the streets, while Stephen A. Smith expressed support for border closures but criticized the administration for inconsistencies in who they have been targeting during enforcement actions. The confrontation highlighted tensions over immigration policies, with ongoing ICE raids prompting protests and raising questions about family separation and enforcement priorities under President Trump.
I will generally speaking, it doesn't matter if who anyone supports. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think there's any point in complaining about it. There's just a point in, like, you and just, like, you, like, truly determining, like, what's right and what's wrong. I don't know, bro. I feel like anyone commenting on, like, a person supporting Trump, yeah, sure, that was probably cool in the early 2010s, maybe even early 2000s, and maybe now it's too clean. It's too clean. But yeah, it just is what it is.
And it was what it was.
Yeah. But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
Still checking. At least 2 dead as wildfires sweep across Greece, Turkey, and France.
Oh, what? Oh, we report about wildfires all the time. Like, all right, let's hear more about it.
On Friday, the 112th Civil Protection Service activated its emergency alert system, urging residents of Thracia and Chavelo to evacuate towards Anavisos shortly after 2 p.m., with messages sent in quick succession. The wildfire spread south of Manotso toward Thracia, entering a pine forest and pushing toward the Anivisos area, fueled by strong winds. Nearly 200 firefighters, aided by 11 water-bombing planes and 7 helicopters, fought the fire as strong winds hampered efforts. Amid the expanding fire, authorities have evacuated 7 areas, including Drossia, and shut down the Karatia Anivisos Road to allow fire trucks through. The Civil Protection Ministry has issued a highest wildfire alert for Saturday in Attica as authorities warn of persistent severe outbreak risks across Attica, the Peloponnese, and western Greece.
Well, the only thing I can do is just pray and hope that, like, everyone is okay after that wildfire. I always say this. For the most part, for the most part, it's important that you know you guys are alive, because ultimately speaking, you have one life. Everything else you can replace. I'm just praying and hoping that no one got hurt and that no one got out alive. Accordingly, of course, because ultimately speaking, things can honestly get serious. When things get serious, all you have is your community, your family, and just your life in general, yourself. So I would only just hope that things will get better from there, and that there are going to be no more wildfires. There has to be, like, a reason on why. I'll probably come up with my assumptions and figure it out later. Yeah, but for the most part, like, I just hope that everything is okay over there with the people, with everyone else there, and I just hope that it is not too much trouble, any more trouble, like, there in general. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Mexico presses Adidas to pull sandal tied to indigenous craftsmanship.
Good thing. Let's hear more.
Mexican officials accuse Adidas of copying a traditional indigenous sandal design without proper credit or permission. The shoe, designed by Willy Chavarria, resembles handmade from Oaxaca, but has not yet been released. Talks are underway for compensation under Mexico's heritage law, which protects indigenous cultural expressions.
Do you have any like initial thoughts on this?
Well, the only thing I can say is do it. Protect your heritage. Make sure that
Yeah,
whatever is rooted in your national identity and culture, it has to be protected. Because if you don't, then whenever people hear about it, hear about your culture or national identity, there is no controlling what narrative is driven behind that. And it could it could it could tear the reputation regarding that culture or national identity.
if it's not rooted in anything degenerate or evil or pagan, yeah, protect your identity. Protect it, maintain it, so you can share it with your grandkids, so you can share it with like, your kids, or share it with like, or just in general the next generation. Because ultimately speaking, like there are certain things that need to die down, and there are certain things that need to be maintained. If it's a heritage that means the world to people, that's not degenerate, pagan, or just generally just the downfall of society, then I say yeah, like try to maintain it as much as you possibly can. But yeah, like heritage is always important. Like try to make. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Most Gen Zers spend $0 on dating.
Gen Zers or Gen Z?
Gen Z, Gen Z, people where I'm from,
Gen.
people call Gen Z
I'm sorry.
because accents.
What? Okay, never mind. I know what you mean. They spend less money on dating. That's actually kind of funny, but also sad.
Yeah.
But actually no, art funny, but also kind of sad. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe the young men are doing it to be cheap and save their money. But I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just hear about it.
Gen Z can't afford love. Most spend $0 on dates every month, new survey reveals. Surveys show Gen
Damn.
Z is focused on saving money, paying down debt, and cutting back on non-essential expenses like dining out. Free and low-cost dates ideas, from picnics to fantasy house shopping on Zillow, are gaining popularity among young couples.
That is the saddest thing I've ever heard. Paying off debt. That is actually the saddest thing I've ever heard, bro. How are you that young paying off a debt?
And the thing is, it's not even their
I'm gonna be honest,
fault.
it's not. Well, you can argue that it kind of. But let's just, yeah, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. I mean, but yeah, it's the people's fault who sold that idea that they could do and they couldn't. But yeah, it's like false hope, went in with a false hope, and now they're paying the debt. Now they're paying the price for it. But yeah, I would say. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. I was pretty much saying that, like, I was pretty much trying to say that, yeah, like spending, like, I would say the first date, second date, maybe you should definitely not spend much. But if you're getting serious with a girl, then you're probably gonna, or find a way to not spend that much money, or spend a good amount of money to the point where she sees that you're at least trying. You know, I'm not gonna say spend all your money on the girl unless you spend like a whole lot of money on the girl, unless you just have it like that, and you can waste and you can like throw away money like that. But yeah, it's I would say, it's not even sad that like people are trying to save money. It's sad at the fact that it's sad at the reason why. Again, being cheap is not sad. The reason why they're being cheap is sad. The reason why they're doing all this is sad. That's the sad part. But yeah, I just hope that things can get better for the Gen Zers, or can get better for the Gen Zers who are in debt, and things can just get better from here on in. But yeah, let's just hope and pray for the best. Because honestly, yeah, they're gonna need the best. Honestly, they're gonna need it. They really will. But yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
Is consulting AI good for mental health? Illinois says no.
Who would consult AI for mental health?
Good
What?
question.
Don't even answer that. Actually, yeah. Answer that question literally. But yeah, actually, no, yeah. Answer the question. Who would consult AI for mental health?
Once again, that is a very good question.
Yeah. But yeah, let's just read more about it.
Illinois became the first state to forbid the use of chatbots to provide mental health treatment. A study found chatbots failed to recognize and even seemed to enable potential self-harm by users. The developer of one app says it helps fill a gap caused by a lack of licensed mental health professionals. Similar restrictions in other states be may be unlikely. President Donald Trump recently unveiled an action plan to manage the rise of artificial intelligence that calls for a 10-year moratorium on state AI regulations.
I will say this, man. You don't need ChatGPT to consult your mental health. Why? Because it's probably just going to give you. I would say, yeah, ChatGPT is good for some things. I'm not going to skip ChatGPT. To consulting your mental health. I mean, what? The therapist couldn't help you, so now you're consulting a computer for it. The point is, shoot, I'll be honest. I'm not worried about therapists going out of business because of this. So I'm gonna be honest. Because ChatGPT can only do so much. But I will say this, man. It gets to a point where it's just kind of sad, man. It's like there's still people who still try to find, you know, their own way, like to fixing their mental health. When in reality, you can put a temporary band-aid on it. You can find something that works, but ultimately speaking, you're gonna have to continue to keep doing whatever is working for you. And then ultimately speaking, you're gonna get tired of doing that, and then yeah, you're gonna go back. You're gonna fall back into like just walk into just like just crime and just doing all this stuff that it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help. People cope with it in different ways. But yeah, the point is like it's just kind of sad. But yeah, it's like there's not really much I can say. It just is what it is. I would just hope that a large majority of the generation does not consult like ChatGPT for mental health advice. Because I'm not gonna lie, most of that stuff are what humans are. You can easily, I guess it's cheaper than going to a therapist, but you can probably just ask a regular person on the street and they would tell you the same thing. But it is what it is.
Was what it was.
Exactly. So, is there anything else in the news?
Syria's minorities demand decentralized states and a constitution that guarantees pluralism.
Interesting. Alright, let's hear more about that.
Around 400 delegates from various ethnic and religious communities in Syria convened in Hassa- Hasakeh for a single-day meeting to advocate for their rights and call for a decentralized government structure alongside a new constitution.
I'm sorry, did you say a single day beating?
Yes, a single-day meeting to advocate for the rights and call for a
Oh, I thought you said beating for a minute. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Call for a decentralized
Okay.
government structure alongside a new constitution. The conference followed the December 2023 fall of President Bashar al-Assad and raising violence against minorities, despite interim President Ahmad al-Sharaa pledged for equal treatment of all Syrians. Representatives condemned pro-government gunmen who targeted mainly Alawites, Druzes, and Christians, described the violence as crimes against humanity and expressing fears about future stability. Conference organizer Hakamat Habib emphasized that only through a democratic and decentralized system embraced by all Syrians can progress be achieved. Druze, Druze leader Sheikh Hikmat Hijri described pluralism as a valuable asset that reinforces unity. The conference emphasized civil peace and national reconciliation and supported elections scheduled for September and a constitutional process that could take years to ensure pluralism and minority protections.
What do you think about this whole thing?
It may sound crazy, but the thing is, I had this one discussion with this one TikToker. I'm not, and he's not a really famous TikToker, but I remember toying around an idea such like that. I, I gave, I, I searched that up on DeepSeek, and it provided me a suggestion about 5-member designated council. I don't know exactly the full details of it, mainly because most of the ideas weren't fully mine to begin with. But at the time, I was fascinated by it. But I do believe there were points that people would be concerned about how something like this would work. So, just for fun, I dropped such idea on a Discord server for a new social media app. You might have heard of this app before, and it's not our project. It's another platform we we described as our twins in innovation.
Yes. All right. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah, so I dropped the idea on a community forum section on that server, and there was this guy. I'm not sure whereabouts in the US he's from, but I'm not gonna assume his views or affiliation. But one thing's for sure, he had life pretty rough, and you know what? I'll give him credit for the concerns he brought out and staying pinpoint on the argument at hand. What the ways he pointed out these issues about uh, a decentralized system of governance, and I don't know much about pluralism, but at least a decentralized infrastructure for governance. He does make good points. Like, it does not matter if terms for those positions are indefinite or if they can be rotated every so often. There is going to be a time, and there will come a point where certain groups of people can collectively come together and use whatever powers that they currently have to potentially bring down or antagonize other people groups based on ideas that the primary people group in question don't agree with. So, although I understand that there has to be some kind of infrastructure improvement for the Syrian government, but having it solely reliant on minorities, perhaps I think it causes some kind of concern because if a person, if a minority group has somewhat of an influence, who's to say that people group can't sneakily or strategically find a way to not just antagonize other people groups, but to pass legislation that only supports their way of life and does not consider everyone else that doesn't align with the ideas or beliefs of said people group, who has, for say, most of the say or somewhat of an influence on what laws or policies are passed in a federal or national level government.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. That makes a lot. And that does honestly make a lot of sense. All we can do is just, hope for the best in terms of, what, in terms of like, what's going on there. Yeah. Is there anything else we can do?
Let's see. Lucasfilm and Disney settle with actor Gina Carano following her firing from The Mandalorian.
All right. Let's hear more about that.
Reaching an agreement on Thursday, Gina Carano and the Walt Disney Company, Lucasfilm Limited, LLC, settled her lawsuit jointly, petitioning to dismiss all claims with prejudice. After months of controversy, Gina Carano was dismissed from The Mandalorian in February 2021, and she filed a lawsuit in February 2024, accusing Disney and Lucasfilm of wrongful termination and discrimination. Gina Carano's complaint alleges she was fired shortly after refusing to meet a Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination representative, and Disney continued a smear campaign costing her career, including being dropped by UTA. Lucasfilm spokesperson said they looked forward to working with Ms. Carano in the near future, following her recent Twitter X post after the case was settled. Looking ahead, Gina Carano could return to Star Wars after settling her lawsuit, having played Cara Dune and being lined up for a spin-off.
Because a person didn't want to work with someone who was gay or lesbian. They did all that. Wait, was it? Did we even know it was specifically because they were that, or like they just like
Well, from the summary I just read, I think Carano just I think Carano just refused to meet up with someone that is a representative for Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination. It's nothing about their identity, it's about a representative on behalf of those people being identified as such.
gotcha? I mean, I'll be honest. If there's no groundbreaking evidence, that's the reason why she didn't want to meet up with these people. Then like, there's really nothing to talk about. There's honestly nothing to talk about. Then, in my opinion. I mean, if someone didn't want to meet up with a representative, I mean, you can definitely, like, I'll say it from this perspective. You can make the argument that that's the reason why they didn't want to meet with this person. At the same time, if there's nothing groundbreaking, I'd say it doesn't really matter. I personally would say, yeah, it doesn't really, you know, just move on, ignore it. Don't make this whole fuss about, like, just don't make this whole fuss about pretty much nothing. But yeah,
It's also petty too,
is there
because
anything else in this? Yeah, you say?
yeah, I was saying it's also petty. Like just because someone just didn't want to meet up with someone, that's the reason why the people involved working on the project she was on gone through all this trouble to not just antagonize her for her opinions and decisions, which she is fully entitled to, but also have an effect negatively on her career. Which begs the question, what if she did want to meet the representative? Would this fuss even be happening to begin with?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, everything about this is just petty. Yeah, honestly, everything about this is real. It is just honestly extremely petty. So it's like you can't necessarily be petty about something that you don't even have any groundbreaking proof on. So it's just like, yeah, if they didn't want to meet up with you, fine, move on. Honestly, yeah, you could legitimately just move on.
Could have asked someone else to meet the
It is what it
representative
is.
and we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you could have just asked someone else to meet the representative, and we would not really have this problem. I mean, would we outrage? Would we outrage on this specifically if it had anything to do with race? Maybe, maybe not. It would still be a little ridiculous though. I mean, just dust your feet off and go to the next person who wants to meet, who would prefer to meet. But yeah, you know, it just honestly is what it is at the end of the day.
It was what it was.
Exactly. So yeah, is there anything else in the news?
RFK Jr.'s vow to overhaul vaccine injury program echoes grievances of anti-vaccine movement.
It's amazing that we're still talking about this stuff in 2025, almost 2020.
Yes.
It's just amazing to be still having this conversation in 2025. But let's continue.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. vows to fix the federal program for compensating Americans injured by vaccines, potentially leading to significant changes. Critics express concern that Kennedy's plans may reflect his ties to the anti-vaccine movement. Jason Schwartz, a public health expert, states the program is too miserly in what it considers to be a vaccine injury. Kennedy described the program as broken and criticized its management for inefficiency, favoritism, and outright corruption.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. It's like I said before. This probably would have been cooler in 2021, 2022, maybe 2023. But it's like I don't know. I feel like we've gotten to a certain point where it just does not matter. I mean, there are people who got injured from the vaccine. There are some people who did. I'm blessed enough to know that I didn't get injured from it. But it's just that's when I thought. At least that's what I only took it because I thought I was going to college, and it required me to take it. So, but still, it just I just don't care. I really don't. I mean, I get it, but it's like I get it, but it's like I just don't care. It's just not something that I'm concerned about. It's just not something that I would devote my life to. Because it's like honestly speaking, it's like we all know that it was just a test for us to take those vaccines to kind of see if like we would just take anything like out of the whim of just like fear and all that stuff. And unfortunately, some people did. Yeah, unfortunately, some people did die from it, or you know, there were people who already had like um, existing health problems, and the vaccine just did not help with those health problems whatsoever. So I'd say in that case, yeah, you should care for it. But it's like I don't know. I feel like because it's been like so long since that's happened, it's like it's a little insignificant, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. You know you pretty much know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's just I would say unless we have like another vaccine going around, then sure. But vaccine that we took like 5, 6 years ago, it just seems insignificant now. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
that is us. Peace.